Hey everybody, it's Kennedy Hawk from the MCM team. Welcome back to Day 11 of Decked Halls 2022. Today's deck is all about aerial and AoE attacks with some aggressive events. Today's deck is called Bird Strike. Before we get to it, let's review what Decked Halls is for a little bit. This is a yearly MCM tradition by the MCM team. We spent all of November crafting a bunch of fun decks to play with our favorite heroes from Marvel Champions, and then released them throughout December as a community gift, a holiday gift to everyone. Whatever holiday you and your family and friends celebrate, I hope it includes playing some of my favorite LCG, Marvel Champions, with all of your loved ones. Over the last and next 12 days-ish, over a 12-day period, during the holiday season, we're going to be releasing one deck a day, and we're on day 11 of that series, so there is one deck left to go. A leadership deck tomorrow, but today's deck is going to be all about aggression. Cool thing you can do with these decks is you can build all of these decks from one card pool, so we can eliminate some of your holiday stress. You can go build 12 decks to play with your family and friends without having to worry about how do I find some fun decks with cool combos to try out. Other content creators are also celebrating the holiday season this year, so be sure to check out the Critical Encounters and the Get Up and Game YouTube pages for some fun Marvel Champions holiday content. In the holiday spirit, we're going to continue raising funds for UNM Children's Hospital. The Marvel Champions community has blown me away in the last couple days. We were a couple $100 short of our $500 goal that we started out at the end of November. We blew through 500 yesterday. We're well above 600 today. So thanks to everyone who donated to the UNM Children's Hospital Extra Life page. The link is in the YouTube video and in the show notes below. So if you have a few extra dollars to spare before the end of the year, every dollar saves, children's lives at my local hospital, and I really appreciate it. So with that, we're going to get to today's deck. Oh, one more thing. Mistake alert. Announcement. I said you could build all of these decks out of one collection, and in the show notes there's a link to all of these decks. But on day 3 and day 5, I published the wrong version and recorded videos with the wrong versions of these decks. Both of these decks included Angel, Colossus, and Professor X, but we only actually have 2 copies of Colossus. So you're going to, in the Phoenix deck, have to swap Angel for Storm, basic ally, and in the Storm deck, swap out Professor X for Longshot, just to get to the right number of allies that have the right traits to make those decks function. So now we'll get to today's deck, Bird Strike. So bird strikes are something that jet engines and planes have to test for to make sure that they can maintain flight, and we are all about aerial heroes today in this deck, Bird Strike. So in the gameplay video I'm going to put at the end of this, I played against Mutagen Formula, and I think I won in 4 or 5 turns against Standard Mutagen Formula. And yeah, it was Standard. I love to play Standard during the holidays. Easy breezy, super fun. But this deck can just pump out damage. So I'm going to read through the deck, and then we'll talk through some of the combos and some of the cool things you can do with this deck. So for allies, we have Blue Marvel. We also have Lockjaw, Mockingbird, Nick Fury, Psylocke, and Wasp. We're running low on aggression allies, so we were a little light on allies. This is a Spectrum deck right now. For resources, we've got 2 copies of the new Aggressive Energy, which when you play an attack event, increases the amount of damage that attack does by 1. We have Energy, Genius, Strength, Power of Aggression, Energy Duplication, Hone Technique, Warrior Skill. And then for events, we have 2 copies of Dive Bomb, 3 copies of Gamma Blast, 2 copies of Melee, 3 copies of 1x1, 3 copies of Photon Speed, 2 copies of Pitchback, and then 3 of our Pulsar Shield and 3 of our Speed of Light. So this whole deck is about using things like Aggressive Energy, Honed Technique, and Warrior Skill to increase the damage dealt by those melee, AoE attacks. So melee with Honed Technique, right? When you increase that amount of damage melee deals by the cost of the event, you end up doing 6 and 6. I think the way it works is with Aggressive Energy, it works the same as Hone Technique. I'm going to have to verify that real quick, just to make sure I'm not leading everybody astray. But the way Hone Technique reads is if you paid for this event with a mental resource, increase the amount of damage that event deals by its printed cost. So you're just increasing the amount of damage. With Aggressive Energy, when you spend this card to play an attack event, that event deals 1 additional damage. So that the word additional might make it so you only get to add it to 1 source. So I could be off in how Aggressive Energy works here. Warrior Skill is also 1 additional damage, so you can Grim Rule that and only add it to 1 instance if you want, or you can have fun and add it to both. When I figure out which one it is, I will put it in the comments on the YouTube page and in the show notes for the podcast feed, because now I'm curious and questioning myself. But yeah, the goal is to increase these AoE style attacks that hit more than one target, and just go crazy with them. So if you honed technique a 1x1, yeah, it's only increasing it by 1 damage, but you're now doing 3 and 3. And if you paid aggressive energy to trigger that honed technique on 1x1, you could do 3 and 4, or 4 and 3, or maybe even 4 and 4, depending on how the rules work. So, love this deck. You just pump out damage really fast. Some important things to note. Warrior skill works on all attacks, so you can do that on your basic attack with Spectrum, where you're sitting at 3 attack already. You can do that on your Gamma Blasts. Same thing for aggressive energy. When you spend this card to play an attack event, it doesn't have to be a aggression attack event. That also works on your hero attack events, which is really cool. So one other note for this deck, the reason this deck works really well in Spectrum is you can basically ignore threat. You can spend as much time as possible in Photon form. That's going to get you the mental resource you need with your energy duplication to trigger your Hone techniques. And it's also going to allow you to sit there and just thwart for 3 and keep the main scheme as low as possible. So works super well in solo, works really well on 3 threat heroes. Someone recently commented that they really like knowing what other heroes this works well with. It looks like I listed Nova twice. That was a mistake. This deck works best with Spectrum and Phoenix. They have that base 3 thwart that really lets you just focus on playing your attack events and using your hero activation to thwart if you want. Rocket, Captain Marvel, and Iron Man all have reasonable thwart within their kit. They either have a base 2, or they have a way to ready with a base 2. And they can get aerial, but they don't automatically have aerial like Spectrum. Storm, Nova, Thor, Wasp, they can all get aerial. They're all reasonable thwarters, but they're all a little bit behind that middle tier. So I think Spectrum and Phoenix are your top targets. Then go to Rocket, Captain Marvel, and Iron Man. And if all those heroes are taken or you don't own those ones, try Storm, Nova, Thor, or Wasp. So we're going to get the gameplay video loaded up here against Mutagen Formula. Have a great holiday season, and tune back in tomorrow for the finale of Deck Toss. Hey everybody, Kennedy Hawk here. We are playing our Spectrum Aggression deck that's going to be all about sitting in what form we want to be in? Photon form, using our 2 thwart, and just going for the villain's face and using some honed technique action from aggression. So we're getting all shuffled up here against standard Mutagen Formula. Everything is ready to go. And we'll see how things go. We are drawing 6 cards in our opening hand. Maybe 6 cards. There we go. We've got Warrior Skill, which is going to be used to increase things like Dive Bomb. Dive Bomb, which we don't need this early on. Pitchback might not hurt. I think we're going to throw it. We're going to throw Lockjaw, and we're going to throw Photon Speed and draw 4 new ones. So we've got Warrior Skill, Strength, Melee, 1x1, Pulsar Shield, and Pitchback. Alright, so normally we're going to sit in Thwart form, but for today I think we're going to jump to Gamma form. So we jump in, we choose a form, we're going to choose Gamma, which is going to let us deal 1 damage to this minion right here. We can now play actually, you know what? We can switch to Photon and just remove a threat instead. And the reason we can do that is we're going to pay 2 for Warrior Skill, which is going to come into play with 3 counters on it. And then we're going to play 1x1 using our Plasma Shield. So 1x1 is from Nova's pack. It says Hero Action Attack, deal 2 damage to an enemy. If this attack defeats that enemy, deal 2 damage to another enemy. But we're going to use Warrior Skill to make that 3 and 3. So it's going to knock out this Goblin Thrall. We're going to shuffle the villain deck before I forget. And it's also going to hit Green Goblin for 3. Our hero just performed an attack, so we can use Pitchback to do 4 more damage to the Gobby. And we'll go ahead and thwart for 1. Thwart for 3, which is just as crazy as it can be. Drawn 5 cards. Okay, so that was pretty crazy. Got 1 threat going on the main. Green Goblin is going to attack us for 2 plus something. And I think this first one we're just going to let it hit us. Just 2 damage. So we could have jumped with Pulsar form, but I wasn't super excited about that. That is going to place a threat in the scheme, and we get 1 encounter card, which is Goblin Reinforcements. Just 2 threat and Goblin Reinforcements. What a joke. Alright, it's our go. We definitely want to thwart away goblin reinforcements before we do anything. Now I think we are not able to flip forms just willy-nilly, but we can use Gamma Blast, and Warrior Skill can increase the damage of any attack, so we can increase our Gamma Blast, which is why I really like this this setup with Spectrum here. So we're going to pay 1, 2, 3 for Gamma Blast to deal 7 damage to an enemy. We're not going to go for that total kill. And to do that, we changed Gamma form, so we deal 1 more damage. So if we used Warrior Skill right now, we would have popped Green Goblin Phase 1, Turn 2, which is crazy. We're not going to use Pulsar Shield, or we're not going to use 1 by 1. We're going to throw it away, but we're going to hold on to Pulsar Shield in case we want to defend this turn. So 1 threat going on the main. Green Goblin is going to attack us for 2 plus something. And I think we're okay defending this turn. Are we? Maybe we're not. Yeah, I think we're okay with it. We're going to use Pulsar Shield to flip to our Pulsar form after we defend, which is going to give us +3 attack. And when we change to this form, we're going to heal a damage. So we're defending for 3. He hits us for 3, which means we take none. And our encounter card is an Overrun. Who'd have thunk it? More threat. Alright. It's our turn. We're going to pay... I really would like to get this energy duplication down, because that's what's going to help us play Honed Technique. But Photon Speeding the main scheme also seems legit right now, so we're going to do that. We're going to pay 2 for a Photon Speed, which is going to remove 3 from the main scheme, and to do that, we're going to flip to Photon form, which is going to let us remove 1 from Overrun. So we're going to discard 2 cards from the encounter deck, and put each goblin discarded this way into play with us, but we discarded none because things are bonkers right now. And threat is pretty low, so I think we're going to flip down and get a good 6-card hand size here. So perfect. So we got a Power of Aggression with a Hone Technique. We are rocking and rolling. 1 threat going on the main. Gabi's going to scheme for 1 and heal 2. That's annoying. And our encounter card is Loss of Control. You cannot change energy forms. Good thing we're an alter ego and we can just exhaust to get rid of that right away. That was pretty bonkers. In our hand, we've got Gamma Blast, Speed of Light, 1 by 1, Power of Aggression, Hone Technique, and Mockingbird. So we're going to flip up, and then we get to choose a form, and I think we're going to choose Photon form to remove a threat. We will use Power of Aggression and 1 by 1 to play Hone Technique. It's going to be useful in the future. I think we'll Speed of Light into our most aggressive form and draw a card. That's going to deal damage. We drew an aggressive energy, and we have a Gamma Blast in our hand. Not quite enough resources to play Gamma Blast or Mockingbird that are lingering in our hand. We have not played an ally yet this game, which is pretty crazy. I'm going to hold on to the aggressive energy and get rid of everything else and draw 4. 1 threat going to the main. Gabi is going to attack us for 2 plus whatever he wants to hit us for, 3. And put a Thrall into play. Ouch. That Thrall is also going to hit us for 1. And our encounter card is a Goblin Glider. Alright. It's time for us to get real here. We're going to pay 2 for energy duplication. It's going to let us exhaust things to generate the resource of our form. We're going to use Speed of Light to go to our Pulsar form to heal 1 and draw a card. We're now going to use Wasp, Aggressive Energy, and Energy Duplication to play Blue Marvel and switch to our most aggressive form. And we're going to deal 1 damage to Gabi. We'll auto-attack this Thrall to get rid of him. Blue Marvel's going to thwart for 2, and I'm thinking about flipping down again, as crazy as that seems. Get the extra cards. I think that's fair. I just drew 6 cards from the villain deck, not from my deck. Those are not cards I want to see in my hand. So let's shuffle that back up. Alright, 6 cards in our hand. We've got Power of Aggression, Aggressive Energy, Gamma Blast, Nick Fury, Pulsar Shield, and Speed of Flight. We finally got some resources on the board, so things are going our way. one threat going on the main. Gabi's going to scheme for 1 and put a soldier into play, so that becomes 2. And he gets some pumpkin bombs. So now we've got pumpkin bombs and goblin glider all on Gabi. Brutal. But we're in a good position to just end this game, I think. So we're going to flip into Gamma form. It's going to deal a damage to Gabi, which is going to trigger him to the next phase. So we're going to get 2 encounter cards. So we're crashing or burning right here. We're going to try to do 18 damage, which may be possible. We'll see. First things first, we've got a Gamma Blast in our hand. We definitely want to use that. But I don't necessarily want to use it for the overkill. So I think I'm going to Speed of Light into the thwarting form to remove a threat first. Nah, I'll go to the defensive form to heal 1 first. Then I'm going to pay 3 to Gamma Blast. And my question is, I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pay 1, 2, 3, 4 with energy duplication to play Nick Fury and draw 3 cards. That's decking myself out, so unfortunately I have 3 encounter cards in front of me now. Then I will pay those 3 cards to play Gamma Blast, which is going to flip me to Gamma form. I'm going to deal a damage to Gabi. And Gamma Blast does 7, and I'm going to use Warrior Skill to make it 8. So he's down to 9. Spectrum can attack for 3. Nick Fury can attack for 2. Blue Marvel can attack for 2. I mean, pretty bonkers right there. We didn't quite get him. He's at 2 health, so it's going to be a pretty rough turn. Gonna see if we survive. We got 2 blockers, though, so things aren't too bad yet. And Gabi's going to attack us. And we're going to have Nick Fury block the first attack. After the villain attacks you, we will resolve Pumpkin Bomb. So he's currently at 3 attack. Just 3 into Nick Fury. We're now going to resolve Pumpkin Bombs and take 2 indirect onto Spectrum, and we'll let the Goblin Soldier hit us as well. We've got 4 encounter cards. Overconfidence. Green Goblin attacks you. If at least 3 damage was dealt, this activation gains Surge, which would not be ideal. I think we're going to use Pulsar Shield to play Pulsar Shield, which will flip us to here, heal for 1, and allow us to defend. So he's swinging for 3, 4, 5. We're going to take 2 and shuffle Monster back into the encounter deck. We've got an Overrun. Not a big deal right now. We've got another Goblin Soldier. And another Pumpkin Bombs. So not too bad. We survived. That's always great. And it's our go. We've only got to do 2 damage to him. So we can do it. In our hand, we've got a Power of Aggression, a Melee, and a 1x1. So I'm going to use Power of Aggression and 1x1 to play Melee. That lets me do 5 and 5, and I can make it 3 and 3. I can make it 4 and 4 with Warrior Skill. And I also paid with a Wild Resource, so I increased the damage by that attack's printed cost. So that's going to be 7 and 7. So we'll hit Gabi for 7. We can kill one of these Goblin Soldiers and take a damage as well. And we're good to go. Defeated Green Goblin, and I don't know what it was. It seemed like 3 or 4 turns. I mean, it's pretty crazy how quickly you can rack up damage using Warrior Skill, Aggressive Energy, and some of these like AoE aggression events. So I hope you enjoyed that deck. We've got 1 deck left to go in Decked Halls. And that will wrap us up for the holiday season with a couple more episodes of Power Up and the main show, hopefully hitting out this month or next. Thanks for tuning in.